What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raise.
After Wedding Scene Breakdown. After began as a story posted on Wattpad, the app where readers and writers publish stories in many genres way back in 2013. After Anna Todd published the first few chapters of her story, she was immediately bombarded with messages of fans wanting to read more. 544 million of them to be exact, and they all loved the tale she told of the two lovers with a troubled past. Not to mention that the $14 million budget film grossed $69.7 million at the box office, a huge success and one of the most popular romantic movies of 2019. Now, if you'd like us to break down more scenes from the After movie, then comment down below which scene you'd like to see next. Now, where were we? Two lovers with a troubled past, right. Anna was inspired by the popular boy band One Direction. Well, three of them at least. Harry Styles, Liam Payne, and Zayn Malik. In the story, they were all attending Washington State University, and one innocent girl fell hard for the charming and extremely hot Harry Styles. After her initial success, she managed to get her book published by signing a contract with Simon & Schuster in 2014. But little tweaks had to be made by the production house, changing the name of Harry Styles into Hardin Scott. Needless to say, it topped the New York Times bestseller list. After all the success, Paramount Pictures bought the right to adapt After for theaters. And we already told you how that went. $14 million turned into $17 million. But what's it all about? Well, we're glad you asked. After, the plot. We're going to keep this as short as possible, but mind you, there will be major spoilers ahead, so consider yourself warned. One of the two main characters in this book is Tessa Young. She is a high school graduate who goes off to college where she is accompanied by her boyfriend Noah and her mom. She goes to the dorm to settle in and meets with Steph, her new roommate. After a day or two, Steph invites her to a frat party, but Tessa declines the offer at first but then accepts after a little hesitation. There, she meets the second of the two main characters, Hardin Scott. They play Truth or Dare, and everyone in the room finds out that Tessa is a virgin. She storms out of the room, goes upstairs and calls her boyfriend. Unbeknownst to her, she is in Hardin's bedroom, who follows her upstairs and tried to kiss her, but she told him to back off. In literature class, Tessa sits next to Landon, who she met a few days earlier. Landon and Hardin start talking and they realize that they're going to be related. How so? Well, Hardin's father and Landon's mother are engaged. That night, Hardin invites Tessa for a late-night swim, where he tells her that friendship between them is impossible and kisses her. Tessa wants to break it off with Hardin and date him instead, but she later realized Hardin doesn't date. She is heartbroken and her boyfriend Noah pops in for a surprise visit. They go together at a bonfire, after which they call it a night and go to her dorm. Tessa wakes up, leaves Noah, and goes sneaking off to see Hardin, who kisses her again. In the morning, Noah finds out about their relationship and breaks up with her, leaving him heartbroken. Hardin finally agrees to date Tessa. Then comes the wedding reception scene, which we will talk about in detail. Hardin has been receiving a lot of messages from a girl named Molly, and she is not happy about it. After confronting both of them, Molly shows her a video of Hardin saying he will make Tessa fall in love with him and then break her heart. The news hit her like a ton of bricks. After she storms off, Hardin runs after her, telling her that those were the intentions he had before she got to meet the real Tessa. Nevertheless, Tessa goes home, apologizes to her mother, and makes up with Noah. When she goes back to college, Professor Soto gives her an essay in literature class. She tells her it was written by Hardin and it was about her. Goes to the lake, and there, Hardin says the last line of the letter while approaching her, which read, "You once asked me who I loved most in the world. It's you." Now, with the plot covered, we can get into the wedding scene, and we will start talking about how Tessa smashed that like button if you haven't done so already. But, all joking aside, let's jump into the scene breakdown. Wedding scene breakdown. Now, let's get down to business and talk about the scene you guys wanted broke down. After Tessa and Hardin decided to date, they go together to Hardin's father's engagement party. There, they meet Landon, who welcomes them and is rejoiced that he and Hardin are going to become half-brothers. After mingling around the room, they meet the stepmom-to-be. They do a little small talk and the three of them seem to be having a good time. There is no tension in the room, although you can see that there is a feeling of discontent on Hardin's face. When his father arrives at the table, Hardin's discontentment turns into enragement and he is triggered. And this raises a lot of questions in our minds. There's ambiguity, and a lot of it. But his father and stepmother leave the table to talk to the other guests. The entire scene is filled with anxiety and awkwardness. You can just feel it. It's like you're there. Hardin interrupts his father all the time and doesn't want him to speak. This is clearly a reason for his rage. But after they leave, only a look into his eyes from Tessa is enough to completely calm him down, and we, the viewers, relieved as Hardin calms down. And they go outside near the pool to listen to Ken Scott. Ken starts off by saying how much he loves Karen, his fiancée, and tells everyone how she saved his life, making him a happier man. He says he has been reborn, his life is absolutely perfect. Then he goes on to say how he is thankful to have not one, but two amazing sons, Hardin and Landon. After that, he continues saying how he remembers his son reciting entire passages from novels all by heart. And when it happens, Hardin finally opens up about his father. He turned to Tessa and says, "That's not the man I grew up with. My father was a drunk, and nothing more," he says. There is certain surprise in Tessa's eyes, and the scene is played beautifully by both hero fiennes-tiffin and Josephine Langford. The emotions are so believable, you can't help but feel sorry for Hardin. After the sentence that broke the ice, he continues by telling her how his father was drunk every day of his life. One fateful day, he messed with the wrong people who didn't hesitate to come by his house. But he wasn't there, as usual. Hardin was alone with his mom. The guys came inside in the home and had their way with his mom. He said, "I tried to fight for her, but I couldn't do anything." When Tessa tried to console him by saying people change, Hardin's only response was that he sees how his father has changed, but that doesn't change what had happened because of him. He is disgusted with the father figure of his life. The event influenced him for life. One can say that his reckless behavior and his promiscuity. Maybe it's a way of dealing with the bullies in his life. Maybe he reasons, "I was once hurt, now I will hurt people in the same way." This was the one thing no one knew about him, and now Tessa is the first person with whom he shared it. This makes his girlfriend feel closer to him. She feels like he knows him. She feels close to him. He chose Tessa as the only person worthy to share in his pain. That was one of the turning points in the film, and this scene marks the beginning of the love Hardin develops for Tessa. They're all in now. At that moment of ecstasy, they join the dance floor, and after more than just a few gazes into each other's eyes and a couple of deep breaths, they go upstairs and immediately start kissing passionately. In the heat of the moment, Tessa says, "I want you now." This is the point where their love escalates to a whole new level and they end up having sex. This scene is so important for the movie as it represents the level of commitment Hardin is ready for. He tells her his deepest, darkest secrets, after which he is completely vulnerable, and all of that promiscuity goes away in that exact moment. And the reason we feel like the ending makes sense when Tessa leaves her boyfriend after they've just made up is because of this scene. In this scene, Hardin really shows how much he loves her, how ready he is to commit to her, and despite Tessa feeling heartbroken after what Molly told her, she still knows that the only person Hardin could confess his secret to that makes him extremely vulnerable is her, and no other. This scene is the answer to the question, how does she know he is not lying about wanting to be with her for the rest of his life? Well, that's our list, guys. Again, if you'd like us to break down more scenes from the first After movie, then comment down below which scene you'd like to see next. If you'd like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys!